What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Voiceovers Podcast. I'm 24K Logan.
Cameron going, man.
So, of course, the NFL playoff bracket is officially set, and it's going to be a very great playoffs. A lot of great matchups. I know some people were teasing it, saying whoever wrote this script is a genius, because you got a lot of players going back to their old teams or their old stadiums that they played at, and same case for some coaches even. So this is going to be interesting, but we're going to start off doing this with the AFC conference, and then we're going to move over to the NFC. So I want you to start off with AFC. Give me your entire prediction for all of the AFC, starting off with Pittsburgh at Buffalo.
So starting off in the wild card, Pittsburgh versus Buffalo. Seeing how Buffalo been playing, same with Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh came out of nowhere. I low-key want to say Pittsburgh will win, but maybe Buffalo want to try again since what happened last year. So I got Buffalo winning in that one. Now we got Miami versus Kansas City. Miami been on a little losing streak. Like when they lose their games, it's like, man, they actually kind of could have won it or just scorched in the middle like that. Kansas City, I mean, hey, you said yourself, Patrick Mahomes, you can't count them out.
Never count them out.
So at that one, I want to see what Patrick Mahomes will do, but this will definitely test what Tua can do in his clutch moment. So technically I would do want to say Miami, but I got to go with Kansas City. What we got? Cleveland versus Houston. Look, you want to say the Browns. They've been kind of killing it a little bit, So, but Houston just got in at the last second. I'll go with Cleveland. I'll go with Cleveland just to be safe. Now, Baltimore versus Cleveland in the divisional round. Ooh.
Division rivals.
That too, but also like, at least with Baltimore, I mean they've been like the best team in the AFC, but they just lost recently. But I really do feel like Baltimore will go far, so Baltimore will be advance to the AFC conference. Divisional Miami
Conference championship.
Yeah, Kansas City versus Buffalo. Ooh, another rematch. I can't count Patrick Mahomes out, so maybe I'll go with Kansas City winning that one.
You got Kansas City beating Buffalo in the divisional round. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then that leaves the AFC Championship,
which I got to give it to Baltimore just because how good they've been this year. But you never know if Patrick Mahomes make it this far. Maybe he'll go, but if this is up, maybe just Patrick Mahomes might go. But I do got Baltimore going to the Super Bowl.
Okay, so you have Baltimore representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. Okay, so now I'm going to do my AFC picks. So Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. Like you said, Pittsburgh has came out of nowhere. I just believe that the way Josh Allen has kind of, rejuvenated the Buffalo season, I do have to give credit where credit is due. And I just believe that this entire playoffs is about matchups. And I just believe that Pittsburgh doesn't match up that well against Buffalo. Although, Mike Tomlin, very experienced head coach, 17 straight seasons without a losing record. But I'm going to give the edge to Buffalo for that one, and Buffalo advancing to the division round. Miami versus Kansas City. So it's like we always say, we never count out Patrick Mahomes. However, I've said this going back to the beginning of the season. You take away Travis Kelce, that offense is essentially dead, regardless of how great and how magnificent Patrick Mahomes is. And, Tua has a lot to prove. I'm going to give the edge to Miami, a very slight edge to Miami. Very slight edge because, as you said, Miami has had their struggles in recent weeks. Then that leaves Cleveland at Houston. First of all, I'm going to say that Cleveland and Houston both have had a remarkable season, especially Houston. C.J. Stroud is, in my opinion, the rookie of the year, well, offensive rookie of the year anyway. It's been a beautiful season for him, considering the struggles that the Texans have had in recent years. But I just believe that Cleveland's defense is a bit too much for him in his first playoff game. Joe Flacco obviously is an experienced quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, if you will, actually. So I'm going to give Cleveland the edge in that one. So then that leads us to the divisional round. We have Miami at Buffalo. I think that Buffalo will have the momentum in that game. Miami playing in that cold weather, playoff time in Buffalo. I'm going to give Buffalo the edge in that one. And then we move over to Cleveland versus Baltimore. I said that Cleveland was the one team that Baltimore did not want to see in the playoffs because of their defense. And Cleveland they've already beaten Baltimore this season, the regular season. But, it's another situation where, somebody has a chip on their shoulder. I think Lamar Jackson has a chip on his shoulder and a lot to prove. And I feel that if he's going to, make it to a Super Bowl, I believe that this season so far would be the best scenario of him doing it. I have Baltimore beating Cleveland, and that leads us to the AFC Championship, Buffalo at Baltimore. I think that's going to be a dog fight, but I got Baltimore winning that, and I got Baltimore representing the AFC in the Super Bowl just like you do. So now that leads us to the NFC side, and, well, you can tell we're Cowboys fans, but I want you to go ahead and do your NFC bracket.
So to start it off, we got let's start off with Green Bay and Dallas. So like I said, Dallas has no reason to lose this game. Aaron Rodgers ain't there no more. Aaron Rodgers was the one who owned the Cowboys. Someone pointed this out. Aaron Rodgers owned the Cowboys, not Green Bay. Right now, Dallas, they literally have no reason to lose to Green Bay whatsoever.
I agree.
So they beat Green Bay. They go into the divisional round. Then we got LA versus Detroit. I mean, Detroit been killing it. So, and I really think they want to see Dallas again. So for their sake, we got divisional round. Now, so we got Philadelphia versus Tampa Bay. I mean, Eagles been losing. But Tampa Bay, I mean, can't count them out. But I got Philadelphia going there, So then we got San Francisco versus Philadelphia. This is a good matchup right here because these are like two of the best NFC teams. San Francisco.
Two of the best.
Two.
Go ahead.
Not the best, just, like right there in the NFC, but Cowboys now own a division. But between Philadelphia and San Francisco, this is a tough one, but I got to go with San Francisco. You can't count out your boy Purdy, so, so they go to divisional round, Detroit versus Dallas. This is a rematch versus the other week. Say what you want about that game. I mean, as a Dallas fan, I can't get mad, but I mean, it did seem a little shady, but I got Dallas winning, but Detroit is going to give them a game to play. That's one thing. But Dallas just got to remember how to get ahead of them, just score, stay on defense. They ain't got nothing to worry about. So in this one, this is a good classic Dallas versus San Francisco, back in the, 80s, 90s?
What, both?
NFC Conference rival. So, man, I might feel a little delusional here, but as a Dallas Cowboy fan, I mean, they gotta go. They gotta beat them. After all this time, man, they really can take out San Francisco. So, Dallas versus Baltimore. That's my predictions.
Okay. So you have Dallas versus Baltimore. So then, who do you have winning? Dallas versus or Baltimore at Dallas, or Baltimore versus Dallas? Who you have winning?
Theoretically, now, if the Cowboys actually do go to the Super Bowl, theoretically, it depends on how they played the previous 3 games. If they actually play good, then they'll have no choice but to win. But if it's really close games, if it's really close calls, if they're getting blown out at first and they come back or whatever, or they have no reason to lose, right? So it depends on how they play in these past 3 games. That would depend if they was to win the Super Bowl.
So you think it's based off of their previous 3 performances, wild card, divisional, and NFC championship game?
Yes.
That's what you're basing it off of. Okay. All right. That's interesting. So, as you said, Green Bay, Dallas. Dallas, they have no reason to lose. However, people want nothing more than to see Dallas get humiliated, especially in a wild card game. But I do, again, this is all about matchups and, schemes and whatnot. And I just believe that with Dallas pass rush, with Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, I believe that their pass rush will be too much for Jordan Love to handle in his first ever playoff game. Although I got nothing but love and respect for Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is on his way to being a top 10 quarterback if he's not already there. But I would pick Dallas to win that game, not just because I'm a Cowboys fan, but I just think that based off of scheme and matchups, Dallas matches up perfectly against Green Bay. I don't think that Green Bay has enough answers defensively to stop Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, their chemistry. I got Dallas winning that game. So then that leads us to LA and Detroit. This will probably be the most watched game of the weekend, potentially, because you have Matthew Stafford returning to Detroit. Remember, this is who he played for prior to Detroit. So it's like a revenge game for him. That's going to be very interesting. A lot of people have been picking the Rams to win that just because of their playoff experience and Sean McVay. Detroit is a young, inexperienced team in the playoffs, but let's not forget that Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl just like Matthew Stafford. And I just think that Detroit matches up against LA pretty well. I think that's going to be a very close one. That might be the closest game of the weekend, but I got Detroit beating the Rams. So then leads to Philadelphia and Tampa Bay in the wild card. Philadelphia, of course, has lost 5 out of their last 6 games. So that's, that raises a lot of concerns. But I just believe that Philly has enough in the tank to where they can bounce back and beat Tampa Bay, even in Tampa Bay. I think Philly's pass rush is going to play a huge part in this game. And I'm looking to see A.J. Brown, his performance. Him and Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. I just think that Philadelphia is better than Tampa Bay from top to bottom. And I got Philadelphia beating Tampa Bay. So then that leads us to Detroit at Dallas. Okay, revenge game. Dan Campbell, we know how he feels about, the call or whatnot. Again, matchups. I think Dallas matches up pretty well against Detroit. I believe that Detroit does not have an answer once again for CeeDee Lamb. If Dak Prescott balls out as I expect him to, and Dallas pass rush gets after it like I expect them to, then I got us beating Detroit again, although that will be a hard-fought game. And then Philadelphia and San Francisco. I got San Francisco beating Philadelphia. I think this time around it will be a lot closer than the last time. But considering San Francisco's offense, Christian McCaffrey making a strong case for MVP, Brock Purdy making a strong case for MVP, Deebo Samuel, one of the most physical receivers in the NFL, Trent Williams, arguably the best offensive lineman in the NFL, Brandon Ayuk is a solid number 2 receiver. I believe that with that offense and their defense having all pros in each level, especially with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, I just believe that they have the edge against Philadelphia. And that leads to Dallas and San Francisco. As you said, this is like it's like a reimagination, if you will, of the classic rival games between Dallas and San Francisco in the playoffs in the 90s, 80s, and even the 70s. If there was a time for Dallas to beat San Francisco, particularly in a playoff game, this would be the year to do it. Now, what is it going to take for Dallas to beat San Francisco? Well, for one, they got to be ready to play physical because San Francisco are straight bullies. Dallas would have to be ready to face the bully. And I still believe that San Francisco is the big bully in the NFC. That's going to be a tall task for Dallas. I think Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, their chemistry and their connection is going to play a big part in that game. And can Dallas, on defense, can their pass rush do enough to make it harder for Brock Purdy? If Dallas does the things that I just said and they protect the football, I give Dallas a very, very slight edge beating San Francisco. And plus, they're my team, so I got to rock with them anyway. And then that leads us to the Super Bowl, Baltimore versus Dallas. I have Dallas winning, and I'm going to tell you why. Again, matchups. Now, it goes back to the Dak Prescott and the CeeDee Lamb connection. I think they're the best 1-2 punch going into the NFL playoffs when you talk about quarterback to a receiver or receiver and quarterback. I do think this will be a very close game because that means that Dallas on defense, they're going to have to maintain Lamar Jackson, which is a very difficult task to do. Also, Baltimore has a very ferocious defense, and You know, you talking about San Francisco being the big bullies of the NFC, where Baltimore, they're the big bullies of the AFC, maybe even the big bullies of the NFL. But I got Dallas beating Baltimore and Dallas being the Super Bowl champions. I know we're going to get a lot of heat for that. You know, I got on the Cowboys shirt, so, I mean, there is a little bit of bias, but I believe that this year is the best chance of the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl ever since Dak Prescott's rookie season. I just think that the matchups are in the Cowboys' favor. You know, everything just has to come together for them. They have to leave it all out on the field. They have to protect the football. They have to play physical. They have to take it to the opponent. And if they can do that, Dallas will get their 6th Super Bowl. We appreciate everybody for watching. Y'all jot down y'all's playoff predictions, who y'all got winning the Super Bowl, y'all entire prediction of the NFL playoff bracket. More content will be on the way soon. Hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. Until next time, peace and love to everybody.